Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are from. Because this is a truly global event, I'm Sumit Thakur, your host from India, and I work with Mainstage as the head of sales for the Asia Pacific region. Now, before we move ahead with the event, there's a quick introduction that I want to set up. If all the attendees could please interact, there's a smiley button at the end. Could you please tap on that and give me a quick thumbs up or a clap? That would be really great. That is amazing. That's amazing. Wow, such a quick reaction from everyone. So while we move ahead, now this is the second time Mainstage Incubator is hosting its global summit. It's a flagship event which happened last year as well, in February in Bangalore. A lot has changed since then. At that point, it was just Xuan and Debashish, the two co-founders of Mainstage Incubator, who took it on their hands to make that particular summit a huge success. And now we are a team of over 10 people, more than 10 people, in fact. So how did all of this start? Why are we an incubator which turned into an accelerator and something which is going to be beyond that? The vision that we are moving towards, it's purely classical and amazing and pretty unique as well. So moving ahead, I won't take much of your time. I do not want to steal the limelight from Xuan and Debashish. So Saili, would you please introduce a very short description about Mainstage before we ask Xuan and Debashish to talk more?
Yes, thank you, Sumit. So, Mainstage Incubator was built to bridge the gap between the Indian and the European market. The Indian startups were brought to the European market and vice versa. However, during the due course of time, our founders realized that not every startup is fit for the two markets, and that's how Mainstage is now a global mesh of ecosystems. But why do startups come to us? Well, we help them with customer acquisition, fundraising, and also ecosystem connectivity. Why don't I bring our two founders on the stage and let them talk about this, as Mainstage is their baby that has become this big now. Welcoming on stage Mr. Sven Wegner and Mr. Debashish Chakraborty.
Well, thank you very much, Sumit and Saili. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, like our prestiged hosts as mentioned. Super excited to be here. Welcome to the Mainstage Virtual Summit. I see a lot of people here. Wow, we've got 72 attendees. I would love to call out each and every one of you, but I think I will spend a lot of time here. I can see that you all have dialed in from multiple time zones, so thank you very much. First of all, as well, thank you. So make sure that you interact with them during the networking session. Debashish, thanks for joining us as well, out of Bangalore. Like Saili and Sumit mentioned, we kicked this off a year ago in Bangalore. We had a physical event where we kind of said to the world, hey, we are there, we're doing something, where we're helping Indian startups scale into Germany and vice versa. But today it's much, much more. Before I go any deeper, Debashish, you want to add something to that?
Thank you, Sven. Thank you, Sven. And thank you so much, Sumit and Shaili, for hosting this event. And this is our second year, and really didn't understand how this year whisked past. Am I? Hello?
Okay, maybe we are facing some sort of technical glitch. Sven,
am I not on
for Debashish? Since he's a co-founder and a partner, I think it would be appropriate, right?
Hi, Sumit. Yeah, thank you very much for chipping in. So I can hear Debashish pretty well. If everyone can hear Debashish from the audience, could you give us a thumbs up, please? Perfect. So as you can see, Sumit, we can continue with Debashish. Thank you.
Well, Sumit, I think in this age of technology, there is something which, when you feel something is not wrong, it's actually wrong. So great. I'll continue. So thank you so much again. It is an honor, and we are very proud to say that we have completed 2 years. And to 2 years, this is our second event, and a very, very interesting year that went past. We have actually built this business in the last year, and we will talk more about it during our medley. So I'm Debashish. I'm the co-founder and COO based out of Bangalore. Happy to connect with everybody and anybody who is here, and all the best. And thank you so much. And you should look forward to an exciting event ahead. Thank you. Over to you guys. Sumit. Sumit, am I not audible to you?
Okay, let me try that then. Sumit, Debashish mentioned, over to you.
Xuan, for taking your time out. So, like I mentioned, this is a truly global event. Like Xuan and Debashish also mentioned, we have had partners, investors, mentors, startups from all across the globe, from the US to down under Australia. And this is amazing to see lots and lots of people joining from all across the globe from various continents. Now, I would like to make this pretty specific over here that we want to have this entire event a bit interactive. So in between, we are going to push up polls. It'd be really great if you could hit a quick yes or no. It's going to take about 10 seconds at max. And before we move ahead, it's highly important that we thank our platinum partners, Hessen Trade and Invest and Startup Hessen, our public partners, GINSEP, our strategic media partners, Frankfurt Valley, Startup Rad.io, AirMeet, Station Frankfurt, and all our ecosystem partners, FrankfurtRheinMain GmbH, Mindspace, Spring Up Capital, Tech Quartier, The Star in Ming, AIC DSU, AIC Race, AIC RNTU, TSI Japan, GOC, and Ahead, Clear Strategy, Group MRP, Suitable Solutions IT, Sales Leadify, RT Lab, Startup Network, Bautic Ventures, and GREWP.
Okay, welcome back everyone. My name is Pedro Ferreira. I'm one of the luckiest employees of Mainstage Incubator. I work as an international advisor and CPO. My role is really about building ecosystems, and that's the name of this block. And I'm really, how should I say, lucky and happy about the setup that we got. We have really a very diverse lineup of speakers that will share their knowledge or their insights. Some of them are our partners for a long time, with which we work on a daily or almost on a daily basis. Some of them are as well working with startups that we work with. So I'm really looking forward to introduce them. I will start with Dr. Chris, that it's going to give the keynote. Why don't you say some words about yourself, and you can go ahead. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Pedro. Pedro is our captain on our A380 flight today. Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Sotiropoulos, CEO of Global Opportunities Commercialization, an advisory firm out of Melbourne, Australia, that assists organisations reach their potential, be it startups, governments, corporations, or individuals. So I will share my screen now to discuss and bring to the fore some aspects of the global economy. The global ecosystem. What we can see on this slide is it's very busy. You can see lots of activity. You can see countries around the world. That is the global ecosystem. What is an ecosystem? It's the environment with which we play. And in commercialization, we think the future, which is here, is that when you have a company or a startup and you're seeking to grow, rather than growing within your city or country, you need to, from day one, think about, how am I going to reach the world? Why is there other facilities available that may enable me to maximize revenue and sales and growth based on a bigger ecosystem. So what are the elements that we look at? It's fast moving. And Sebastian, just prior to our session today, was talking about that. There's a lot happening. We had the Trump-Biden election. We've got COVID. We've got geopolitical matters. You've got stagnation in funding and economic activity. There are environments where commercial businesses and social enterprises are now merging. We see that with the World Economic Forum. We see the environment becoming to play. We see different levels of increased access to funds and lifestyle across developing countries. These are fast moving. When you're observing and managing an ecosystem, you have to be very good at observation. What are the key factors that drive particular innovative policies in India? What's happening with Germany, Singapore, South Korea, Australia, South Africa, Nigeria, Poland, and Belgium? All very different dynamics, but without observing that, you get yourself in trouble, because that way you are able to amplify the 10 times, 100 times return. Being networked, what does that mean? Well, we know what networking means. We know that if I know someone, that's a network, but that's not where the end of the network operates. It's, for example, person me knows person X, but person X knows person Y and person Z. I might need to get to person Z. How do I get to person Z? That's what being networked is about. You don't know in this commercialization space what technologies or what configurations of a product will work, but you need to be networked, because you might need to get access to 10 or 12 or 15 countries within a week. Now, how do you possibly do that? Being networked, spending time, leveraging relationships, which takes me to the next point, trusted intermediaries. We saw this with COVID. What an unusual time. When I used to do deals, I'd hop on a plane, I'd meet people on the other side of the table, see their factories, meet their staff, meet their kids, meet their families. They'd come over to Australia. Same story, deal will be done. You move forward confidently. Well, what happens with COVID? You can't do that. But people still want to transact. So how does that happen? Well, we do that through trusted intermediaries, intermediaries that we know that can vouch for us, and they can vouch for the party on the table, at the other side of the business table. Deals are being done through Zoom and other platforms, which were unheard of 2 years ago, through trusted intermediaries. Now, of course, what will happen, because we're all humans, at the end of this COVID business, we'll hop on a plane, we'll meet each other, families, do all the stuff we did in order to solidify that relationship. Supply chain connectivity. In commercialization, as we all know, there's different levels of commercialization. There are different parties. There's the developers, the funders, there's the Series A, Series B, there's the executives, there's the customers, advisory boards, manufacturing sources, regulatory people. They are parts of a supply chain. Logistics, parts of a supply chain. Our role in the global ecosystem is to understand what the various buckets are, and to have relationships sufficient enough for us to understand what are the key factors, key terms, key trends. So supply chain connectivity is critical. And that's a wonderful thing about this Mainstage Summit. We are meeting many people from different aspects of the supply chain. We are developing networks. That's why this conference or summit oozes global ecosystem. Now, in this slide, we've got some of those intuitions which we build up over time. The X factor, or the seventh sense. How do we know whether this technology is hot? Do you have a good feeling for the leadership? Maybe the leadership's great, but the technology's not. It's much better to do it that way rather than the other way around. So getting a feel for what's hot is really important, for what's emerging as well. Are there strategic priorities of a nation, of a continent? What are they? How can I find that out? Through my networks or trusted intermediaries. That gives you that competitive edge. Diversity in team is really important. Now, we hear diversity is important, but you know what? We do things a bit differently. We have in our team 3 generations: the young, the sort of my lot, the middle, and the seniors who bring lots of wisdom. The young bring lots of energy, but each of those 3 generations know their market really well. I couldn't profess to know what the young ones are doing. I have no idea. I think I do, but that's not good enough. We now tap into that and we ask them to take leadership into projects which impact on their ecosystem. Diversity in risk-taking. Well, risk-taking in commercialization is par of the course. You've got to know to say, well, listen, I think that'll work in that market, that'll work in that market. It needs to be repackaged, reconfigured. So you have to have built into your DNA and systems a bit of risk-taking. Now, I'm not saying that's 80% of your business. It could be 30% of your business. So for us, it's probably 30 to 40 because we love the fun of the ecosystem and taking risks and building things that no one else is going to build. So we're speaking to different groups that have cluster environments. Mainstage is a prime example where they bring a whole stack of relationships. We bring relationships, and then there are other groups out there. If we get all together, we have access to almost 50,000 people in different parts of the supply chain. That is power and information which can quite literally lead to significant scaling up. So now I'm very pleased to hand over to Pedro and the rest of our esteemed panel to tell us their thoughts and experiences in the ecosystem, how it works for them, and how we can help you, the customer, achieve your 10 times X or 100 times X, which I'm confident we can do as a collective. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chris. Indeed, great presentation that you prepared, and some of the points that you just mentioned. Well, I prepared with the panelists that we have for today to discuss some of these points. So it's a really good way to end over, because some of the points we will be indeed touching on them. So the panel that we have right now includes really a big diversity. One of the topics that you just mentioned, the diversity of this global. So we will be going through different hubs from Germany to Singapore, Argentina, France, India, and quite a diverse lineup. I will go through the different panelists one by one and introducing them. I would like to say, first of all, thank you all for joining as panelists. I will start maybe ladies first, and also because we are sitting here in Frankfurt with Kasturi. Kasturi, she's a director of FrankfurtRheinMain GmbH, responsible for the India and UK regions. FrankfurtRheinMain GmbH supports businesses in setting up their business in the region. And for you, Kasturi, my question and to start is really why Frankfurt, how Frankfurt can be a good entry point, not only to Germany, but also to Europe.
Thank you so much, Pedro. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been following some of your sessions even prior to this one, and it's amazing amount of energy, amazing amount of insights that I got to here, and awesome talk, Chris. I'm going to use one of the things that you said, Chris, in your talk, being agile and what kind of an ecosystem this world offers. And that is where businesses will prosper. That is where lives will prosper. And I think in today's world, being mobile and being agile is, I think, one of the most powerful sort of accesses and keys to being successful. And I think everybody who's been to Frankfurt has essentially been to the airport. And everybody thinks of Frankfurt only as having this big, huge airport. Well, we are also the #1 connectivity hub since 2016. We have cargo deliveries over 361 per day, almost every week. Where we sit in FrankfurtRheinMain is just across to the airport, and every 30 seconds we have a flight either landing or taking off. Speaks a lot about how vibrant the region is. But because we are so connected, what does that give rise to? One, that gives rise to the amount of businesses that can come here, that can get access here. We are home to around 450,000 companies. This is not something that a lot of people know. The region employs about 2.3 million employees. Just the city of Frankfurt is about 750,000 inhabitants, but the employment rate is about with 2.3 million employees. We have 12 to 15 business clusters, a burgeoning hub for startups. We have 28 incubators and accelerators, Mainstage being a proud kind of participant in that cluster. And especially with concerns to Brexit, now we are also now Europe's #1 financial hub. We are home to about 200 international banks. We are talking about a digital euro currency now. The ECB, which is discussing this, conceptualizing this, is sitting and is headquartered in Frankfurt. So anything that happens, anything that's got to do with fintechs, financial technologies, institutions is pretty much happening in this part of the world. What not many people know is that we also have the largest research center for IT in the world. And for the IT techno-savvy people here in the group, we have the largest internet exchange point, the D6, which has, I think at its peak traffic, 9 terabytes of peak traffic going through per second. That goes through Frankfurt. Now, something that is so small in a geographical region is an ecosystem by itself. Now, when you have this entire holistic ecosystem, what does it give rise to? It gives rise to prosperity. The purchasing power of this region is about 43% above average. We have a great intellectual quotient. We have 280,000 students in the region. A lot of them, a big chunk of them from the STEM and economics background. And this has given rise to us being an international hub. 35% of the Frankfurt population is international. 180 nationalities live here, reside here, and absolutely peacefully. And mainly we're talking about white collar jobs or businesses and entrepreneurs. So yeah, I mean, what more can I say? I mean, I can go on and on about the region, but these are some of the key highlights. And at the end of the day, I think we have the best wine that we have to offer. So which I think we all need that after this summit. So over to you, Pedro.
Yes, indeed, there are multiple examples, and myself, well, I work with as well with Frankfurt Valley, which is a media outlet that shares the news about what's happening in the ecosystem, and we have multiple examples. One of them, we will come back to you on a second stage. I will pick on something that Dr. Chris also said, that it's very important for business to being able to travel and to visit people. Well, it's not possible. Maybe I would ask you to try to fasten your seatbelts, because this is like traveling, what we are doing here. So yeah, get ready to cross the ocean, because now we will talk with Sebastian from Sebastian Luna. She is from the HK Argentina, which is the Cámara Industria y Comercio Argentina Alemán. Sebastian, I'm really happy that you are here. Let me change my background, because now we need to be in an Argentinian mood. So something that also Dr. Chris said, we need to be aware of what is happening globally. Would you like to tell us about Argentina and Latin America? What are the opportunities that you could present us from that side of the world?
Okay, thanks, Pedro. And at first, thanks very much for inviting me to speak here. It's very nice to share this kind of conversation with so many people that is working on that every day. Going to the point that you asking to me is, here you have the opportunity that we have low cost for startups, we have a high quality of human resources, and the ecosystem, the startup ecosystem, is a small ecosystem, but it's a consolidated ecosystem, because we know all each other, but we work every day doing the work that we need to be part of this global value change that Chris mentioned it before. For example, that is something that happens to me. Before I started working in the HK, I had a startup that we received funds and investment from 500 startups in San Francisco, and we had to make every 3 months. We have to make the report, putting what are we doing with the investment, with the money. And one time I put in the report, okay, the office rent is less than $100. And the person in 500 startups says, okay, Sebastian, but you have wrong here. You put less than the $100 in office rent, and you are 12 people working there. No, that is okay. I'm not wrong. Here is this something that you have here in Latin America. The cost is really low, and you have really good human resources that you can develop here. Good startups, and you can work in here. I will say like a global level, but with low cost. And for example, in Argentina, we have here 6 unicorns that are working now around the world, and this is because here you have the potential, you have the quality, the human resources you need to start a business and make it globally. Yes. That is something that I can say. What is the opportunity, or what is happening here in Latin America, and the startups that are developed in this moment are fintechs. So in Latin America, fintechs is very important because the finance system is a little old system. So fintechs are breaking that and working in the ecosystem and working with all the financial. Then we have AgTech. Latin America, or all countries, or the most of countries here are commodities exporting countries. So AgTech is very important to us, and here we have a very high develop on technologies for that. AI, IoT, that's all technology you can see here, and is global class level. So this is, for example, something like you can see here in Latin America. And how I say before, we have an ecosystem that is developed every day, looking in USA, in Israel, what is happens, and that is good for us because we bring here a lot of ideas, a lot of systems, methodologies that we can use here, and that is very nice.
Okay, Sebastian, thank you. I will come to you like doing a second leg of our discussion, but now we will try to do or keep doing our journey through the world. So crossing again the ocean, now this time to Singapore, where we will meet Ming Xuan Li from the Singapore Economical Development Board. And to you, Ming, I have exactly a very similar question. So what is the unique selling proposition of the Singapore ecosystem? We heard before TSI mentioning that Singapore is a great example when we look into the Asia ecosystem. So can you highlight some of the USPs of your ecosystem?
No, thanks, Pedro, and thank you, Mainstage Summit, for having me to share about Singapore. I would say that Singapore is in a unique spot. I mean, firstly, everybody probably knows that Singapore is well known to be the hub in Asia or in Southeast Asia. For more than 46% of companies in Asia have their regional headquarters based out of Singapore. I think more than that gives you about, I think, close to more than 500 headquarters activities. And beyond that, I would say that Singapore also has a lot of manufacturing activities. So while we are known to be a high-cost location, you will actually find that 20% of our economy is made up of manufacturing activity. So actual production happening on the ground in Singapore, despite us being a small country. Besides that, I think what have been successful or what we have managed to do over the last decade is really to build up a strong startup ecosystem in Singapore. So we have more than 100 various accelerators from all over the world based in Singapore. At the same time, more than now 300 VCs as also based out of Singapore. Not obviously targeting only Singapore startups because we are such a small country, but really looking at the whole region of Southeast Asia just because there's so much opportunities. So sideway a bit into then Southeast Asia, because I think everybody probably knows a lot about Asia, but Southeast Asia itself is expected to be the 4th largest economic bloc by 2030. And I think the interesting part and interesting fact is that more than 70% of Southeast Asian population of adults are still underbanked or unbanked. So it remains a huge opportunity for growth for many of the tech startups. If you talk about fintech, you talk about all the ed tech and all these things, yeah, they are equally booming as well in the region. And I guess what the last thing that why startup likes to come to Singapore, besides the great business environment, the ability to be able to work with so many companies and their regional headquarters, is the fact that also I guess we have a very progressive regulatory setup. You might have heard that I think Singapore is one of the first country to approve for alternative protein. So chicken nuggets that's made from that's grown out of lab, so not found from chickens, to first be approved and sold in Singapore. Just giving an example in terms of what kind of regulation that we're pushing. So even the area of all the fintech and I think various other areas like vertical farming and so on. I think there are always new things that Singapore is trying to do. Not always we are successful, I must be honest, of course. But I think the spirit of daring to try new things and always pushing the frontier, I think that's what you will expect to find in Singapore, and the ability to be able to tap into the region.
Okay, well, thank you, Ming, for giving us such a broad overview. We will come back now to Singapore in some minutes, but now I will move to another ecosystem once again, now to India, one of our beloved ecosystems, obviously, because Mainstage also has an office in Bangalore, and most of our team indeed is based in India. I would like to present and welcome to the panel Julian. He is from GINSEP, one of our partners, and they support a lot of business, Indian business, to come to Germany, and vice versa. Julian, we have been sharing stages in multiple events, and I would like to hear from you. What are the advices that you give to the startups when they really think of scaling between ecosystems?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me. Thanks for the invitation.
Okay, Julian.
Sven. And yeah, again, thanks for having me here to Mainstage Incubator, for organizing it, for Pedro hosting it, and to be part of the panel. I feel also honored that I'm representing the India base, although I don't look very Indian. But yeah, with GINSEP, we support both German and Indian startups on the way to the other countries. We work inbound and outbound, from Germany to India, from India to Germany, and to quite different markets. And it's a program implemented by the German Startups Association. It's a public funded project by the German Federal Ministry. And we see ourselves as a platform to bring together all kind of players that are active or want to get involved in the German startup ecosystem. And now to the recommendations, what we've come across. So we've been working in that field for 3.5 years now, starting from scratch to bring the players together, to see or to connect to Indian startups that are already active or want to get active in Germany, want to work with Germany, and the other way around. And the recommendation from there is what we've learned, that many times it's not really that common that people really get a very clear idea of what the really advantages or also the weak spots of the other markets are. Right? You hear about market potential and so forth, and that is usually very tempting. But how do you really tackle it? And then I see there's lots of, particularly that's something that is very easily done, or well, can be done right now during the pandemic as well. This preliminary research. So some research from the desk to identify the regions in the other country, identify the players, identify the other products, maybe competitive products or competitors, regulations that might be to your advantage or disadvantage, to just get a proper understanding of what the other place has to offer or what potential hurdles are over there. So all these things can usually be done from home. And of course, and this is also what this event is for, the network. It doesn't happen overnight. One has to start to develop the network through events, through now, of course, online events, to reach out to get an idea of the relevant players that are out there, other enablers, I mentioned already the competitors, but also corporates or associations, programs, for example, like Mainstage Incubator. And I think if you're active in that field, you really get, after a little while, you really get an idea which are the players that are really relevant for you. So this is what I always highly recommend. And this always interestingly applies to both German startups and Indian startups, because at the end of the day, it's really difficult to understand what the other market is about. There's some numbers, but of course, entering a market or getting started in another market is always much more challenging than that. And particularly when it comes to that point of cultural barriers, which is not only language, but also, let's say, the way you do things, right? That's what culture entails. So the business culture there, it is, people usually, or the Europeans would think like, yeah, well, India is very difficult when it comes to that. I agree, but the Germans think that, oh, for Indians, it must be very simple here because everything is so straightforward. And there I strongly disagree, because Indians face similar, well, different kinds of, but also similar barriers, cultural barriers when it comes to Germany. So this should not be underestimated. And I think from German perspective, this is many times underestimated, that it is not that simple and straightforward over here. So these would be the recommendations I would have for founders and other partners out there. I'll also put my contacts here in the box. So I'm happy if you want to get in touch.
My idea now is to move to Paris, as I said before. By the way, Paris is an ecosystem where I also lived for about a year. So it's an ecosystem that I'm very passionate about. And to guide us a bit about the opportunities and about Paris, we have with us Thomas Favel from Choose Paris region. Is an expert into the deep tech industry. Thomas, can you tell us a bit more if deep tech, or which sectors are the ones booming in the Paris and the French region?
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me. I hope you had a nice flight. Welcome to France. I work for Choose Paris region. So it's first I want to introduce you to this economic development agency of the Paris region. We support every year nearly 1,200 international businesses looking to set up a business in Paris region. And expand, of course. So our services are always free of charge and confidential. We are public funded, so we can bring market insights, business connections, legal advices, and as you said just before, also cultural differences. We manage it because it's really important to build trust in any country. There is different codes. We help you decipher it, and it's a pleasure to do this. Wonderful job. So first, following up on what has been said on the fundraising session previously, let me tell you how France is a startup nation with 5.4 billion euros of fundraising in 2020 going into the startups. It's an increase versus 2019. So the crisis didn't change this booming ecosystem. It's really resilient, and I must admit it's part of the specificity of France. The government is really supportive for its startups, for its economy in general. And if you have heard about the French tech, it's really something amazing, something really supportive. So the epicenter of this startup nation is no doubt it's the Paris capital city. I mean the capital region as a whole. You find 70% of the French investments into startups only in the Paris region. We are a centralized country, of course, but it's also funding a huge ecosystem of startups with 8,000 different startups. And we are really proud of how we supported them during the crisis and still now, so that most of them really had the possibility to make a shift if they needed to change facing the COVID-19 crisis. And so we have a really great ecosystem still now. And following up on the great speech, inspiring speech from Dr. Chris, this is really important to network. So use our organization, use the other organization we can connect you to accelerate your knowledge about France, about its decision centers in Paris and so on.
Thomas,
so it's really, yeah.
Since we are running out of time, and indeed you are touching the point that I wanted to ask you next, can you highlight us about some of these networking opportunities, programs, I don't know, events that are coming up and that you are connected with that our attendees could also join? And
I would share really important trends. I would say trends that give huge opportunities. First, the Olympic Games, 2024. It's a huge opportunity. It will happen in Paris. It's a huge real estate and smart city project, and we have also the Grand Paris Express. You should have heard about it. It's a 80 billion euros urban renewal, opening 68 new train stations until 2030. It's really for mobility players or smart city startups, a perfect moment to add their value to this. As I am a deep tech expert here, I'm focusing on some really booming markets. This is quantum technology. Yes, this is amazing how we attract new players in this emerging field, because we have great pool of talent for this, especially mathematicians. We are a country that love mathematics, and we also have a booming ecosystem for cybersecurity and lots of opportunities thanks to a national plan that just has been launched yesterday by Emmanuel Macron, our president. So this makes sense for foreign companies, I guess, to look at business opportunities.
Indeed, Thomas. Well, thank you very much for your insights. I will start now asking the same question as well to Ming. So when it comes to Singapore, can you highlight us what we should not miss out in the upcoming months, years?
Thanks, Pedro. Yeah, I think Singapore, the largest startup event will be the Singapore Week of Innovation and Tech that happens concurrently with the Singapore FinTech Festival. Singapore FinTech Festival is the largest FinTech festival of FinTech event in the whole of Asia. So definitely if you're in the space, I recommend you to be there at the same time to look at all the other startup activities and various side events that will happen. So concurrently during that week, you will see multiple events along the lines of digital health. I mean, you want to talk about deep tech AI, machine learning, computer vision, quantum even. I'm sure you'll hear some stuff like this. The other thing to look out for is if you add me on LinkedIn, you will see that actually we have been curating a list of potential business opportunities in Southeast Asia. I think these are on a rolling basis, so we update it maybe once a quarter or so. Basically, these are just a list of open innovation calls that happens throughout the region. So definitely something that you might want to check out. Looking at what are the opportunities.
Yes. Thank you, Ming. And indeed, I just dropped the contacts on the chat. So all the LinkedIns from all the panelists. I hope you don't mind. So I think it's a good way to take use of these and for the networking. And now back to Sebastian and Argentina. My plan was to ask you about, the rising champions or what's next in your ecosystem. But if you want to highlight as well events, feel free to.
Okay, thanks, Pedro. Well, again, the champions, I think we have a lot of also apart champions startups, but I think the most important is the industries that are developing these startups. Because, for example, I think it's a big opportunity for startups in Hessen, in Germany as well, to become here and help to develop the Latin American industries, making it with technology. For example, they are in Germany, a lot of startups focusing in industry 4.0 or 4.0 in German. And we need that in Latin America. And I think that the HKs and the Hessen programs are a big opportunity to open this door and become here. Because for companies in industrial companies in Latin America, maybe it's better to pay the service than a startup can give to them, and not pay a lot of millions of euros to big global companies. And I think this is the big opportunities that you have here in Latin America. And then in events, global events that we have here in Latin America, the most important are fintech events that we participate between, and this event is organized with the HK and here in Argentina and Chile. And it's a huge event that for the South Cone of Latin America. Then AgTech events are very, very important. Since they are a big event, the summit, AgTech Summit, that becomes startups from USA, from Europe, from Asia.
Yes.
And I think it's important to participate. And better now than the events are virtual and you can participate without being here. And this is very, very nice.
Yes.
Very opportunity for the
Sebastian.
global context.
Thank you. Thank you once again. And you gave a great example of opportunities, not only for the German, but as well for the other startups. Really, it's for the Germans, obviously, it's a very good opportunity, but in general, it's what you just described. And now back to Germany and to try to close up this panel because we are a bit late. Also a great example that we could present and discuss a bit, Kasturi, is indeed how locally we have been working on a global issue, which is the COVID, and how so many companies, some of them are startups, some of them are corporates, but they make part of the ecosystem, how they have been trying to support and find solutions for a global problem. So it's a good way to end the panel. Can you highlight us of some of these examples?
Well, I think there's only one example that is on everybody's mind, but you spoke rightly, and I mentioned about the ecosystem that is required to even have this kind of innovation. And so the region actually is home to one of the top global pharma clusters. So you have all the major pharma companies here, be it Sanofi, Fresenius, Roche, Clariant, Merck, all the big names have been functioning here, have had their regional headquarters here for years to come. But it's actually, these clusters, when they come together, and Frankfurt, the region, is known for this cluster, and especially I'm going to highlight the House of Pharma. It's a cluster which caters essentially, it's a public-private partnership, and it caters to the pharmaceutical diagnostic industry. Now, all these guys come together at a political, scientific level with the whole aim of promoting cooperation, networking. So it's not really competitive, but it's collaborative between all the players in health and the pharmaceutical company. And this is especially important and pertinent for an industry which is so regulated as the pharma industry. I mean, after the defense is the pharma industry that is extremely stringent in its regulations. And then we come to the big player or the big crisis winner, the Krisengewinner, as we say in Germany, BioNTech, which developed the world's most effective vaccine in fighting the coronavirus, and that company is actually not too far away from where I sit. And this is, especially important for you to know as a startup. It is a very young company founded in 2008 by two non-ethnic, non-Germans. So again, not a classic German pharma company, and with a seed capital of not more than $150 million. What is that in today's time and world, right? And you scratch the tip of the iceberg and you actually come to this whole mass. And today the company is about, in 2021, their projection that they would make about 5.5 billion euros. That's like what, 1,800% increase. But how is this possible? It's not that they just chanced upon a drug or they just chanced upon a vaccine. No, it's years of collaboration, years of cooperation, years of kind of encouragement, research that has actually given rise to something like this. And we are very proud that BioNTech sits in our jurisdiction. And as an agency, I would welcome all of you to actually come and see some of the success stories that we proudly showcase in our region. So over to you, Pedro.
Thank you, Kasturi. Yes, and I think there are multiple examples of startups and companies. Another one that came to my mind, Wingcopter, for example, that is supporting and transporting vaccines via drones. There is also another one producing the boxes for the vaccines to really allow the temperature to be stable. So yeah, it's just an example on how the old ecosystem tried to support and finding solutions. So with this, I think we are really late, so I want to say a final thank you to all the panelists, because now I would need to call Carolina Yeo on stage so that we can as well hear from her. and listen to some of the feedback that she may want to add on what we just discussed. Thank you once again.
What a fantastic panel here. Thank you for all the insights, and thank you for also Mainstage for inviting me here on this stage amongst all the very credible as well as very experienced panelists sharing all their thoughts. It was great to go around the world. And I think, Pedro, if I can share already some of the learnings that I personally gained. It is such a great time to be a founder at this time because you have opportunities that are now borderless. So as we go around the world, as we see from this, even all the ecosystems from the panelists represented by the panelists here today, and also for the investors, right? So now there is no longer a geographical boundary that we have to look at when we look into investment or to be a founder to access opportunities around the world. So I just want to put a few points, if I may, Pedro, in terms of the learnings. I think I learned, for example, today from Chris, which mentioned that the factor of trust has changed from this current pandemic. We have so many of the deals that were done previously needing a flight and face-to-face. And now with Zoom or with AirMeet or the technologies that we use today, deals are being closed, whether is it for sales, for business development, or for investments. So that's a very interesting thought process and highlight. And I also want to mention also what Kasturi also mentioned in terms of the agility of the talent and also of the ecosystems themselves that is important. Because through this, then we as founders and also the ecosystem themselves have the opportunity to grow and innovate. And I think the ones that can do this very well are the ones that are going to succeed in future. So it also forces us now as individuals and as organizations to keep on learning from each other and partnering with each other, which I think is really, really important. And I'm from Singapore personally, so definitely, you know, I benefit from being a Singaporean from, you know, such a small country, but managing, as Ming shared today, to have 300 VCs and 100 incubators around the world. And I think size doesn't matter so much, but the diversity of talent that we see. And I remember Kasturi shared also that the ethnic background of individuals is now getting so mixed. So we're all very diverse with our families and combination of families. I'm from Singapore, but I'm living in Germany. I have families in India, families in different parts of the world. So how can we leverage these opportunities as founders? I think it's really important. And a shout out also to Julian and Thomas, who also shared, and also Sebastian, who also shared, you know, all the different advantages of the ecosystem that I'm more than curious to learn from. So that's a bit about what I've learned, and thank you all for the insights.
And Carolina, let me do a step back because indeed I rushed and I tried to move forward quite quick and I did not proper introduce herself. So me and Carolina, we are friends. You can quite notice. We know each other for years. We have been working in some platforms together, some of them that support entrepreneurship and have global reach and the global community. Founders Institute is one example, but she's as well the founder of a big project called And Ahead. And Ahead, it's a project that touches on keywords that we have been saying so much, and Dr. Chris also mentioned the diversity. So supporting, for example, female to get back to work or female entrepreneurship is one of the points that can support global ecosystems, and diversity can really have an impact into the results that we get from our ecosystem. Carolina, do you want to highlight how you are building your community, how your community has been profiting from this F factor?
Yeah, thanks, Pedro, for the shout out, and I'm extremely grateful also to Pedro and the rest of the mentors here from Mainstage Incubator, and also Sven and the rest of the team. I think this project started also as part of community building because we first started understanding that there's a challenge, a problem that exists. So women who are half of the population, many stepped away from childcare, stepped away from work, looking into childcare and supporting also the families. And we saw the problem of them wanting to return. So personally, in my case, my mom had the same journey, my co-founders have the same journey. And when we went to start building the community as part of understanding this problem, the community validated our problem. So in Germany itself, there are 3.4 million individuals, particularly women, who wants to return. And that's how Ahead grew. And as we learn from the community that we started, starting from local events that we run to understand and build this group, now the group is going international. So Ahead will also reach Singapore as well. And the idea is, how do we support this talent looking in their back to work process on our digital platform, but also companies that benefit from this talent, as the diverse talent is one of the key topic and highlights today that we discuss. And what about the fact of having a platform that supports the movement of talent globally, looking at this hidden pool of individuals who are not in the workforce and now wants to come back. So that's how we as a team grow, with a strong mission. And also the importance of this for the social impact, because this also affects the financial independence of the individuals that we're talking about, as well as the future pension, for example. So that's how we grew, and the community really helped us to leverage the opportunities of how we can build partners when we start to see and provide these offerings beyond Germany.
Yes. Well, Carolina, thank you once again. Shout out to everyone. To just say that I'm sorry that we cannot keep on going. We already, kind of went 15 minutes of networking, and the next session is about to start. I would love to keep on going, talking to all of you, but as we cannot, I would just say, try to connect on LinkedIn, try to use the networking options, try to go to the tables, and take the most profit of this, because what we just have in front of us, it's a global ecosystem. So leverage it, and thank you once again to everyone, and happy to network with you.
Thank you very much, Pedro. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Pedro.
Thank you, Pedro. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks,
Just
Pedro.
a small twist in the agenda. I know I'm the surprising guy. I'm the guy in the background everywhere. But so we've been getting quite some feedback from the audience, from the attendees. I think that one thing which is missing is a bit of this interaction between the speakers and so on. So we thought of, hey, maybe we will reduce the networking. And I know we are a bit over time, but yet we want to come forward towards the attendees and maybe give them the opportunity to ask questions. And now when I look at the questions, there's so Eric Schwartzman he's an author from Schwartzman, is asking, what lasting changes will the global ecosystem make as a result of the pandemic and black swan events in general, like extreme weather from climate change? Who wants to pick it up?
I think there will be a hybrid model where there's a little bit of old activity plus what we're doing now. What will also happen is what Carolina and many of our colleagues today talked about, where parts of the expertise will be sourced from different parts of the world. I know from what we do, we'd love to have experts from Sebastian's environment, Thomas's background, Ming. We know the ECB is fantastic. We know we've dealt with them in the past, and some of the other touch points. So the global climate issue means more startups in that space. Money's comfortable in that space now. So that's going to be a huge impact. Aging populations, huge impact. What we're seeing also is that we're looking at organic farming and trying to disrupt the model, just like Richard Branson did with Virgin. Why should organic food be expensive? With global supply management, it can be at equal or even lower price than the mass-produced chemical foods. So there are plenty of scopes. There's automation, there's AI. That means that when there's the next outbreak, COVID, number 2, number 3. All of a sudden, within a week, there'll be 50 labs developing drugs, not 1 or 2 or 3. There'll be 50 labs doing PPEs. There'll be planes specifically flying out to different parts of the world managing these systems. So it's a traumatic event, what's happening, but groups like ours and our ecosystem will take charge to come up with innovative solutions. So I'm very bullish on the prospects moving forward.
Yes, if I may add as well, so last year I was lucky to be part of kind of Hackathon the Europe versus virus, where, well, there was never been such a huge platform in Europe where so many startups connected to find solutions. And indeed, myself, I'm also a founder. I work with a startup called Experience Plus. My co-founder Fabricio will be talking in the next block, and we have been working on one solution that we will present, and you will see it in a while. But as well, Mainstage, we have been working with several startups that developed solutions for the present situation. So indeed, this led to a lot of innovators to just step in and start working on these ideas. So a change always comes with a chance. So I think never, Carolina said, never as before, there has been so many opportunities and so many startups working as it is now. So that's, I would not like to say the good side of the coin, but at least there is a positive way to look at the bigger problem.
Education will change too, Pedro.
Yes.
Whereby startup courses will be introduced to universities.
Yes, I was saying, I think we're wrapping it up a bit. We're a bit over time. I actually wanted to see if anybody from the audience wanted to come on stage, but maybe we can give that opportunity in the next track to come on stage and ask some questions live. Thank you very much, Pedro. Thanks to all the panelists here. It's been an honor listening to all the exciting stuff happening in these different ecosystems. Our vision is to connect those global ecosystems. Really happy to be part of, or at least to be listening to this session. If I may, I would like to give the voice now over to Siley. So Siley can wrap it up quickly and also talk a bit about the next sessions.
Thank you.
Siley, over to you.
Thank you, Sven. This was an amazing track. All of us we have had such enlightful sessions. So let's move to the next track, which is our innovation track. So let us leave this room and move to the next room.
Thank you very much, Siley. So I'm going to end this session. Just before we quickly end this, one thing I have forgotten is I wanted to thank all our ecosystem partners, so Frankfurt Valley, and Ahead, GINSEP, Startup Rad, FrankfurtRheinMain GmbH, Choose Paris Region, Station HQ, who is not here today, and many, many more. Thank you very much for being here today, even GOC from Australia. Thank you very much. Let's move over to the next session. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.